Welcome to another episode of Today is the Day Changemakers. I am Jody Grinwald, and today I have with me two incredible guests, Thomas Villane and Anne-Marie Baker, President and Vice President of Design 446. Their business is all about creativity. And if you take a look at the podcast logo, the Today is the Day logo, and the Zach G. Aploder Kids Foundation's logo, where I serve as the CEO and co-founder, you will see some of their amazing and incredible work. But what I also want to share is that they take the time to listen. They want to understand your mission and your vision, and through that, they help you tell your incredible story. Today, we talk about how their organization is making a difference in their community by working with multiple nonprofits, and how they are working with their internal clients, meaning their employees. They want to keep them happy and engaged during this difficult time that we are all living through. So listen in on an incredible conversation, and I hope you enjoy this episode as much as I enjoyed having this conversation. Have a great day, and don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. Hi, everybody. My name is Jody Grinwald, and welcome to Today is the Day Changemakers. Today, I am so excited, as I always am, to introduce two amazing people to the podcast and YouTube channel. Today, we have Anne-Marie Baker and Tom Villane, and I am so happy to have them. They're here from Design 446. Anne-Marie is the Vice President of Design 446, and Tom is the President. Welcome, guys. Thanks for being on.
Thank you, Jody.
Thank you. Good morning. How are you?
I am good. How are you guys doing?
Couldn't be better.
Good. and the interesting part is this is going to show much later, but we are actually taping this on the actual launch of the Changemakers podcast and YouTube channel. So I am so pleased that you guys are the ones who I am interviewing today on the official launch. So thank you for that. Just so everybody knows, this team here at Design 446 is an incredible team, and you'll hear a little bit more about all that they do, but they have helped both the Zach G. Aploder Kids Foundation and with the launch and branding of Today is the Day and Today is the Day Changemakers. They're a team like none other. These are the people you give your idea to, and they come back with your vision without you even giving them lots of steps. So I want to get into what you guys do so everybody could learn more about you and how long you've been a part of Design 446. So Tom, why don't we start with you?
Well, I've actually been at Design 446 25 years. Just now, I came here from a printing background. My background really is in politics. My degree in college is politics and government and history. So I kind of ended up in the marketing business, kind of backed my way in. My first real job was with a direct mail political advertising agency out in Princeton, and just kind of worked my way through direct mail printing and stumbled into Design 446. I became partners with one of the original owners. Anne-Marie's been here 10 years longer than I have, but I came to Design as their fifth employee, and as my partner retired out, Anne-Marie and I kind of built Design 446 from a 5-person agency that was kind of just focused in one industry to a 30-person agency that does a lot of our own in-house production and is really a very, very much more diverse company than we were 25 years ago.
I took a tour of your facility when I first met with Anne-Marie, and it was amazing. It feels like a home. It just feels so comfortable. You've created such a great environment. So kudos to you guys for doing that. It's amazing there. You have so many different departments in-house, Tom. Would you share a little bit about the different things that go on in your office there?
Sure. We really are a home by design. I mean, we have, like, as you know, we have a full, almost residential kitchen here. We kind of figure that we work so hard at what we do that we want to make it as comfortable and inviting for our employees and even our clients that they come in. It's not unusual that we have lunch or prepare lunch, or so we use that kitchen. You know, it's the heart, it's the center of a home. It's also kind of the heart of our company. Mm-hmm. And our company was basically a graphic design company. We had some graphic designers, and that was basically what we did. Everything else that we did as a company, we sent out to other companies. Today we have 6 or 7 distinct departments, from advertising and marketing, to our own in-house print department, where we print both traditional and digital printing for brochures, direct mail, just about anything you can imagine, pocket folders. We have an interior design department with 2 interior designers that do space planning, office design, furniture, window treatments, fabric, finishes, paints. We have a web development team that just does, web design, web development in multiple web platforms. We have a graphic design department that designs both interior space displays, brochures, all of our ad copy, email blasts, anything that's actual full design. And then we have a copywriting and social media management department, and then our account manager. So our company is really full service. Almost everything that we deliver to our clients is actually produced in the building. So all of our print gets produced in the building. All of our display work gets produced in the building. Our interior designers work with our graphic designers. So it's all a big, coordination of efforts, all stemming from the heart of that is all art and design. So almost everything we touch comes from that, passion to design good artwork. So it's a difficult to do all those things remotely. Some of these pieces can be done remotely, but it really is a lot of coordination between those 6 or 7 departments that gets us to get to where we can deliver that kind of artwork to our clients.
Yeah, the quality is exceptional. That is for sure. I can say that firsthand. So appreciate it. And Anne Marie, we met when, well, first of all, I heard your name about 1 million times when, as being a part of the Greater Toms River Chamber of Commerce. It was always, if Anne Marie's a part of it, it's going to be fabulous. Like, this is all I would ever hear. No matter if you were helping a nonprofit or whatever job it was about, your name was synonymous with that at the chamber. And so we finally met at a not-for-profit committee meeting, and I just loved your energy. Yeah, I mean, I was like, oh gosh, she needs to be a friend of mine, and I want to get to know her better. And so we got to meet, and we got to talk, and then you actually came to one of our events. But I want to hear a little bit more from you about what you do for Design 446, and then we can go from there. What do you think?
Sure. Yes, as Tom mentioned, I have been with design since I was in college, so I'm here 35 years.
Wow.
So I started as a designer, as an artist. So, and that's my background. So I stayed true to my background. I've been in art school since I was a young girl, went to private art school, and then I went through college and graduated. My passion is art and design. So that's what I brought to Design 446. As Tom came into the company, as an artist, I still dealt with accounts, but Tom really said, we have to change kind of the structure a little bit, and you need to have more account management. So from there, I've kind of developed more into, as the company grew, more account management and more like into a leadership role as opposed to just designer, but huge to have the advantage of being a designer. In fact, one early story of background with Tom and myself is that Tom would sit on the Mac and I would art direct him through some of our projects, which is really kind of funny. So you can't tell somebody what to do until you've done it yourself, theory. So
yeah, we were kind of like very left and right hands. So from the printing business, I had the Mac desktop publishing background because I had needed that to get my direct mail done. But design was more of a traditional agency. It was back when we were turning from traditional artwork to electronic artwork. So I wasn't an artist, so Anne used to stand over my shoulder and make me, I was like moving.
He was pressing the buttons.
I was pushing the buttons and she was designing on the screen.
Oh my gosh, that's so great.
Yeah, so really, and that helped the growth because it helped our progression and our change as a company. And again, by bringing things in-house, but I agree that you have to have a passion, and the goal always has to be that you have to, and you work with me directly, is that I have to be convinced myself that it's good before I think it's good enough for you. So that's, I think, has been a really big part of our success over the years, is really caring about what you do and bringing it to that level. And then to bring up to the chamber and the nonprofits, we were not always involved in that nonprofit sector. But, in thinking about how, myself, I'm not sure how Tom feels about this, but I knew that as part of an artistic background and a business background and a leadership background, there was much more we could do as a give back, meaning that, you work for clients all day long in the business industry, but when you work with a nonprofit who really needs and appreciates what you do, I felt like that was a great niche to say, what can we do? Like, we have to be able to give something of our service that's going to make a difference in people's lives or organizations' lives. And really, in the nonprofit world, it could make a difference in one person's life or change one person's life. So we just started to kind of become part of, boards or just touch upon it. And what happens is, once you do it, it becomes contagious. Is that, and I don't say no too easily. So I was like, of course I can help. Of course I can help. And so Tom was like, well, what are we doing today? Who's our new nonprofit of the week?
We really stumbled into, community service nonprofit work. It happened during the holiday season where our kitchen used to be filled with baskets from our clients, or, boxes of cookies or popcorn. And then we would struggle with what would we do for our clients during the holidays. So we got to the point where, we were spending thousands of dollars. We were trying to be unique or trying to send the proper holiday gift to our clients that were important to us. And we kind of stumbled upon the idea of taking that money and choosing a nonprofit organization and donating it to the nonprofit with addition of our services. So we would give a cash donation, plus we would say, you have X amount of dollars in services that you can use of ours for the year. And our clients really appreciated the fact that we weren't sending them, a cheese box. We were actually doing something in our community in their names. And it kind of, and every year we started with Ronald McDonald House, and we had a couple other nonprofits. That's how we got involved originally with Mercy Center in Asbury Park and Sisters Academy. It's actually how we got involved with Garden State Philharmonic, because one of our clients who was a consultant, his wife was a board member and a pianist, and was affiliated with the Garden State Philharmonic. And he said to me, this is really a nice thing. Would you consider next year having the Garden State Philharmonic as your organization? And it just kind of,
it snowballed
in that we started getting involved with those nonprofit organizations through something as simple as doing a holiday donation to them in our clients' names.
And Jody, and you may know, but COVID really changed a lot of our plans, and talking about the start and how we led to how things develop over the years. There's such a need in our community, and through even the different seminars we've attended and nonprofits we've met, that we try to launch our Impactship program, which you may be aware of. And really, the beginning of January of this past year, 2020, and we brought on interns. And what that program was basically, we have always had interns here from Communications High School or colleges, universities. But we thought, well, what better way is to serve certain nonprofits that need marketing work or graphic design work or interior design work than have an intern be paired with a nonprofit. So we allowed our interns to look through the nonprofits, choose one that they felt compassionate. So it served really a dual purpose. It brought that community service to a younger audience, a young group of people, hopefully, who could find an affinity to a group, and then also teach them everything we do here in an actual business environment, and then give that back, obviously, to the nonprofit, free of charge, start a relationship with them. Hopefully the nonprofit would bring them on. So we did that. We were doing it very successfully. In fact, Allison, who runs that program for us, but with COVID, we've stopped having the interns because, having them in the office. And we'll see as the future goes. I mean, we've already have, the program in place, the success stories from some of the interns we've had. But again, it's just certain ways to say, what can we do that's a little bit different?
Right.
To really make a difference in a world that is just it's a business world for us, and everybody here is passionate about what they do, but it exposes new people. And our team, I mean, the team of people here, 30 people this past holiday season, what we did, and it actually the idea came from a client of ours, is that Tom and I spoke about that if each person chooses a nonprofit, that Design 446 would match their donation. So we had how many nonprofits that we
17.
17? So 17 out of the 30 people here, we had 17 nonprofits that each individual, who some may have donated this year, some may not have, but this gave them an opportunity to explore who do I want to help? What little bit can I do? And it was really surprising, that feedback that we received from them, and the positivity. Like, it changed the whole dynamic of the season, which, you know, it's a little bit in that little change that can make a difference in everybody that may not be exposed to it. So.
And we thank you, because Zach G. Applauder Kids Foundation was part of that. And we thank you for that. Loved your whole 12 days of Christmas with the, you know, the ornaments that you were posting social media wise. And then we were like, we want an ornament that looks just like that. It was, wait a minute, that looks so great. I'm not even kidding. So it's amazing what you do. I think that you really have such great ideas on how to marry nonprofits and for-profits. I think there's a lot that needs to be done with that. You know, I consult with a statewide organization, and that's one of the things that we're doing is a collaborative event, because I think, you know, for those for-profits that can't write the $5,000 and $10,000 check to 25 different nonprofits, what you're providing adds so much more than those dollars. Because if your branding is right, if you have the help and support of an organization like yours, the amount of exposure and the things that you can do the right way changes the whole dynamic, and you can raise a lot more money just by having all of those things in place. And I can absolutely vouch for the fact that you will say, no, this is not good enough. I don't want you to, I don't want you to use this. We're going to go back. But what did Tom say?
It's refreshingly exhausting.
But it's amazing, because you feel like your vision is, you know, my vision is your vision. And I don't know how that happens, because that's not what happens with every organization you work with, you know, with every vendor you work with. You come up with an idea, you just give it to them, you don't know how to put it together, and then somehow it bounces back looking absolutely beautiful and even better than you ever imagined. And that is clearly because of the work and the time that you guys put in, and it's a very different environment. And I think you have a lot that you can teach some of the much larger organizations about the importance of community service, about the way to work with nonprofits that is uniquely different. And instead of the, you know, one of the things that I think is important, instead of the, no, I can't write you the $5,000 check, and then the person walks away, it's, well, how can we work together and be creative? And maybe the value of this partnership or relationship is way bigger than that dollar amount. It could just be absolutely priceless, to be honest with you. And I think that's kind of the way we feel about working with you guys. And I know a lot of other people feel that in the community as well. You know, before we got on and I started recording, we talked a little bit about your industry, and I do want to bring that up because I think it's really an important piece. And you shared something that was a little bit interesting to me about, Anne-Marie, when you started years ago, and you and Tom would go out on appointments, that it was an interesting dynamic. And I was wondering if you wouldn't mind sharing just a little bit about that, because I think the topic is really important, and how you kind of are changing the mindset in the industry a little bit there.
Sure. And we could both agree, and Tom has been always very open, and obviously being surrounded by women. And we were talking about the fact that in our industry, as being, you know, home building industry or construction industry, was very male dominated industry. And I think at the time, both Tom and I were younger too. So now I was really like a young girl that was going, you know, into business meetings, but had a very strong background, had many years experience. But when we would go in, I would be, you know, Tom and the girl from the office. So what is the girl from the office? The secretary, the assistant. You know, I had a notepad or whatever. I did take notes because I cared and I was intelligent, not because I was the girl. And I always, you know, you as a woman, I guess, or just as a person, or out of respect, you sit back and you watch and you take things for what they are, and you know better. You know your strengths, you know your intelligence, you know. So today we laugh because Tom says, well, today I don't say anything, and the girl says everything, because
I used to just, Anne-Marie would talk and nobody would react. And then I would repeat what Anne-Marie said. And it would be, oh my God, what a great idea. Why didn't we think of that earlier? And then we would get in the car and
I just shook my head. I just shook my head.
But, you know, when you think about it, you know, over the last 35 years, you know, Anne-Marie has probably been involved in launching more new home communities or new home multifamily rental communities, you know, probably than anybody in New Jersey. I mean, so for 35 years, she's, you know, watched, you know, branding and sales office design and has had her hands on actually doing them. I mean, she goes to installation. So when she's in a room talking to somebody about launching a new product or a new community, there's more knowledge there than probably anybody else in the room has. I mean, and she does it every single day. So, you know, little by little, she's changing everybody's perception. So she's pretty equal footing right now. So, you know, in that industry.
I don't know. I think, Jody, most of those people that he's referring to probably after the first meeting become a little they know their place and in a very subtle, strong way. But I have to say, as knowing that, and it's funny because I have two sons, so I am in, you know, Tom's in a household with women, I am in a household with men. So obviously my husband, my two sons, my dog, who is a male. So I'm surrounded by males, and I've always had my own, again, I always feel as though your confidence and your security is through your knowledge, you know, what you read, what you learn, and you build confidence. That's your own, you know, strength, let's say. So I never had an issue in that dominance in a male dominated situation, whether it be in a conference room or anything else. And recently I've actually joined one of the women in leadership groups, and I wasn't going to because I felt comfortable in my own skin, and I never felt that being an issue. And my son actually said to me, "Mom, I think you're wrong." He said, "I think that because you have the confidence and the strength," he said, many people in his university, younger girls going into, again, finance or, you know, positions where they may be treated differently. Mm-hmm. He said, you can really help them and mentor them and change them. He said, I think you should look at it that way and open your mind to say, what can you do to mentor someone younger to get them in a position of confidence? And I thought, well, I never really looked at it that way. I didn't look at it from somebody else's perspective. I knew how I handled it. So I agree. And I agreed with that. And in listening to this group, I see a younger generation that is definitely affected by it. And they typically say, what would Anne do in this situation? And they turn their mindset. And I thought, well, that's good. I have that effect on people to say, to at least stop and think and say, someone who's has more confidence or strength, what would they do in this situation? And it almost forces you to change what your decision may be and take a stronger stance. Not in a stronger stance if you feel, you know, you have to obviously listen and be confident in what your response is, but never let anybody obviously take advantage for the wrong reasons. So,
and that's why I wanted to bring it up, because I feel like that younger generation does need to have mentorship and to learn, because they're going to get hit hard when they get into, you know, the work environment.
Business world, yes.
Yeah, and as they're trying to work their way up the ladder themselves, you know, unfortunately, sometimes they get pushed down, or they just get frustrated, or they change jobs because of their frustration, or even start to think about, why did I even get into this field? And I think it's important for people to know it takes strength, and it can be done. And it's important. You know, one of the things I talk about, I think on almost every one of the episodes that we've taped, is about mentorship. And I love that you're helping and you're mentoring. You've mentored me. I mean, I think you just naturally have that in you, and that's who you are as a person. You just want to help and assist. And I think that's such a beautiful thing to have. So thank you for doing that. And I'm so glad you joined that group. Your son gave you some really good advice.
See, that male son of mine gave me some great advice.
Yeah.
Tom's been very nice too. And I have to say, when we are pretty much a woman-dominated company here, even though our leadership roles, and obviously Tom being the president. But I think that it's, again, having that space to be creative and express and give everyone that opportunity and the respect. So that makes it a lot easier, because under different guidance and leadership, it may not be that way. And like you said, it's a very family and open and nice culture to become a part of that group and not be singled out for any obviously specific reason. So
I wanted to ask you, speaking of which is a great segue to the question of, you've always been a very family oriented. I could tell because I have been in that kitchen, Tom, and you have made the most amazing soup. And I haven't had any soup this year. So, and into this new year, I'm hoping I get one bowl of soup during this winter time, but he makes the best soup. But during COVID, I think for those listening, and there's leaders who will be listening, what did you do with your team differently during this time? Because I know that you've always worked together in the office, but then you all had to spread out and you're still somewhat spread out. So how are you keeping the team motivated? How are you keeping morale up at this point?
Well, we were always, like you said, we've always been kind of like a family company. We've always approached business that way too. One piece of business advice I'd ever give anybody is that always treat your customers the way you would want to be treated. So you always take care of your customers' needs. Don't try to sell them something they don't need. Always put be their partner and their team, be part of their team, and business will take care of itself. And mostly for 25 years, there has been some times where it's been touch and go, but mostly we haven't had to worry about business because we've always taken care of our clients' needs. So when COVID hit, we walked out of here. We kind of had an inkling, it was Anne Marie's birthday in the middle of March. We kind of had an inkling that, things were about to slide off the end of the earth. And we were pretty well organized with remote access to our building. We had our IT guy make sure everybody who needed to be connected remotely was connected. We walked out of here on March 20th, hoping that, our fingers crossed, that on Monday when we signed on that we would be a company operating remotely. And with few exceptions, we pretty seamlessly worked remotely. It was very difficult for collaboration because everything had to be done over a Zoom or through a text or through an email. Days were much longer because you were, working from home. You were almost always on, as opposed to having that, gap at either end of the day commuting. And we made a distinct point of communication. And I kind of liken it to Franklin Roosevelt giving fireside chats during the Depression and during World War II. And we would have every Friday for many, many weeks, we would have a company meeting, even if we had nothing to talk about. And I would tell, jokes, or I would talk about historical things that were happening, almost to the point of,
it was funny.
It was funny. I would find things like part of my week would be what we're going to talk about in this company meeting. And we would all get on the call and all of our faces were there and we could see each other. And we just communicated. We talked about how things were getting better. We talked about what things we missed, what things we wanted to do, when quarantine was over. And it was really just communication. It got to the point where, as we would end the meeting and people would just stay there and so they could see each other. We had another funny thing happen a couple weeks into COVID where one of our designers was working remotely and, her fiance was out of the house all day. So she was basically alone all day long. And we had a meeting with her on a project, and then our go-to meeting call went on to the next thing we were discussing. It was kind of like our open shop. Anybody could jump on or jump off. And there she was. She was just kind of hanging out in the corner of the screen. And I said, you know, what do you do? And she said, well, I just want to be with other people. I've been alone for so many weeks. So she just kind of hung out in the corner of the room there. She was working. But
I have to say, it really, you know, we were thinking, because we're doing our 2020 year end and recap, and, you know, looking back on that, and it was 20 some people on that go-to screen talking, and we talked about what we did for the week. And Tom always had a story, which was funny because you could see everybody's face, and it got to the point where I probably should have turned the camera off because I thought, oh God, I have to hear another story or whatever, or where is this going to go? I never knew if it was going to be a joke, if it was going to be real. But do you know, recently someone said to me they missed the Friday company meetings because it was a time when we all really were able to get together to hear what went on. And we do a weekly internal newsletter to keep everyone, you know, up to date, because so much happens here. You can't possibly know what each department is doing, but they miss that. And I think that's the family part of it, is we really, everyone always just voiced their appreciation for Design 446, for having that family, for having it now through the hard times of COVID and not knowing, and their families and sickness, and that they knew that they had design. So, and it was another funny thing about the room. We would call if something bad happened during the day, or you couldn't believe, because it was meeting after meeting after meeting, as you're aware, I would say, go to the room, because in the beginning, we dedicated our own Design 446 room, and everybody knew the number, knew the code, and we were going to leave it open just for Tom and I to have open conversation. And it was the venting room. It was the room where you said what you wanted, so that if something bad happened or something good happened, I would just go text somebody, go to the room, go to the room. So it was our safe room. It was what happened in that room was between this group, which you would have here, the natural things you have, you know, human nature that you talk to and you vent. You know, we have a lot of deadlines here, and it's very stressful at times. And we laugh it out, and we laugh through it. And that makes it okay. That makes the stress go away. Well, not having that was a major issue. So to be able to have it again, even now, like we laugh, I used to get employees on that kids were jumping in the background, and you never knew. And I thought, well, if I'm having a bad day, I'm going to have so-and-so get on in the room so I could see the hecticness happening in their house, because it was going to make me feel a lot better than my dog barking on a call.
Yeah, one of the most reassuring things was when we started to come back. Well, even before we came back, we never really closed the building. Part of our employees are installers and manufacturers, so you can't really bring a printing press home with you, and you can't bring your white formatter. You know, that's got to stay here. Right. We have enough room here where you can really be. Most of our people can be here, social distance from each other. And we've kind of learned that over the last few months, where people we are pretty much back here. There are some employees we haven't seen since March 20th. So, right. But when we started to come back to the building, the people that had been here and had to work here were so overwhelmingly happy to see the other people that they hadn't seen in so many weeks, that it was kind of reassuring that, you know, maybe the culture here is right. Because sometimes you think, you know, maybe we're not doing this correct. Maybe we're not, you know, business enough. But I think that was really reassuring for us.
I mean, to hear that they miss it, I think just says it all. You know, that they miss that opportunity. You gave them a safe space to connect, to feel human, to feel like you could talk to somebody and vent. I mean, that's just a beautiful thing. And I think it's awesome that they want it. They're actually asking, hey, we need our Friday room back.
Yeah, but you know what, Jody, after, let's say, whenever we really do get back, it'll only be about a week, and they won't like it again, so.
That's hysterical. I have enough of you after that.
Exactly.
But I just love, thank you for sharing that, because I think that's a really important, the culture within an organization. And so many organizations that I've been dealing with in nonprofits that I deal with, you know, there's a lot of fear. And so not all the time is the leadership leading with this feeling of safety and security, and we're here for you. A lot of times it's more of the leadership by fear, and our goals need to be met, and there's that kind of dominance instead of we're all in this together. So I just think it's always a great example to share stories like yours where we're all in this together. Anne-Marie, you're involved in so many nonprofits, and I did want to ask you this. What are some of the unique ways that you see the nonprofit community working now and sharing their stories? Because you're all about the storytelling. I know that. And is there any unique story that you have of a nonprofit, or what, something that you think stands out right now that you?
Well, and again, being a bit reflective because it's the end of the year and starting a new year, and so many great, for as bad as the year was, so many great things came out of it. And in the nonprofit world specifically, being a part of that nonprofit committee every week, or whenever, every month, I'm on those calls. And that was the best for people personally, for organizations. There was so much uncertainty and insecurity, whether it's job insecurity of the business, a nonprofit staying in business, the insecurity before grants were being instilled, before the, payroll protection was instilled. There was so much fear, and it brought people to the real people, not who they were within a nonprofit, the CEO or the development person. It brought them, they were real people gathered in a room saying, what are you doing? What are you doing? And I laugh because in most of those meetings, I was the positive person on the call. I'm like, come on, you have to get up. The next day will come, get past it, be strong, and trying to give them some advice, from a marketing perspective, that you cannot be silent. Your doors may be closed, but you have to get on social media. You have to send e-blasts. You have to ask for donations, just to push through in a positive light. And it's refreshing because not everybody can be depressed and down. That's never going to move you forward. And the collaboration part of that, I mean, what were you doing to make it successful? What were you doing? How did you have this event? And everybody truly collaborated and learned from each other. People transitioned from traditional ways of communication to electronic. It grew, it helped organizations grow more than they thought they were capable of growing and have strength. So for me, it was so, even in business, I mean, it was so how we pivoted, we changed our business, everything went electronic, our business model changed, our openings changed. And what can you do? You react and you change. So, in the nonprofit world, I mean, just from what I see and from the organizations, I've seen them grow through this and come out of it, and they will come out of it. And they served more people than they probably ever served, and saw the need greater. So it was really just the awareness and being involved. It allowed me to have that exposure to all of it. To see firsthand. And again, I'm seeing firsthand as a board member in multiple cases, not as an employee, obviously, of any. So I'm looking at it to say, hey, the organizations where I sit on a board, look at how these employees feel. They're worried about their jobs. They're worried not only for the community that they're trying to serve, but about themselves. So, I don't know, I found it to be extremely eye-opening, and I think they helped each other. I mean, it's a major lesson for everybody to kind of look back on this year and see, what good has really come for all the bad things that happened. So much growth has emerged, from it.
Yeah, I think, for our not-for-profit, Zach G. at Plutter Kids Foundation, we're going to do a year in review, and put that out there to the public, because I think it's important for the public to see what your organization has done, because sometimes you don't even realize. I feel like there's so many things we did differently, and have to continue to do differently. And I think some organizations during the really height of the pandemic were afraid, if they weren't frontline, to even share their story, because they felt guilty about not being frontline. So they didn't want to put too much out there. And we kept going. I mean, we did, because we also knew that the kids needed it, and the adults needed our open mics, and to bring everybody together. So it's important, no matter who you are, what nonprofit, you're still servicing people. You need to share.
And for your funders for the future, for yourself, for your funders, Hope Sheds Light actually just put out their year in review, and we were actually reviewing it because putting everything to a timeline, and just taking a step back and looking at how impressive it actually was, how the pivoting happened, all the new programs, new functioning, and I thought, wow, this is. I said to Pam, I go, do you realize what happened here in the last year? This is amazing. Like, because when you're in the thick of it, you take for granted what's really happening, but you can see yourself. I mean, you came up with new programs, new outreach. Think of the kids that were on open mic.
Yeah.
That made all the difference in their week to know that they had an opportunity to be with people and sing.
Yeah, we would have never had people from Texas. We had kids from Texas on, I mean, that would have never happened if, so you have to try to think of the positives in that, in a very trying and challenging time. There were plenty of positives that happened as well, and continue, because we're still in it.
Yes.
So, we still have to come up with unique ways. So I want to ask you both, the last question that I ask everybody as we're kind of running out of time is, what would you, if you were talking to your younger self, what would you tell that person that you were back then? It's the what do I know now that I wish I knew then question that I ask everybody. And it's a really good question because I feel like those who are younger, those who are, all of us are still learning. It's a great way to teach people something new, just from your own experience. So Tom, we'll start with you. If you knew then what you know now, what would it be?
I think I would tell my younger self to be more, to be more involved. I mean, I think I was always kind of focused on work, and I come from a big family, and there was always family. And I think until you get involved in your community on any level, you're not really part of that fabric. And I think if anything, I would have been involved in our community a little sooner in my life. I mean, when you get involved and we have the advantage of seeing, 15 or 20 nonprofit organizations, and you see what those organizations do for people that you don't even know exist in your community. And it doesn't take a lot. You don't have to do a lot. Like, businesses think, well, nonprofit organizations want, all they want from me is money or a donation. They don't. They want your time. They want your talent, your expertise. And if you get involved, even if it's with one nonprofit, or even if it's, during the holiday and you want to do something for a coat drive, if you get involved, you get to see, and it opens your whole mind. You actually get more from it than you give. You learn so much about people that you don't even know exist, or struggles that they're going through. And I think that's what I would tell my younger self. That's what I try to tell my children. That's what I try to tell anybody. Be involved. And some people you have to drag kicking and screaming to get them to see the great work that some of our nonprofits do. So I think that's what I would have told myself.
No, that's great. And once you drag them and you get them there, I feel like once they have the one experience, totally changes the mindset, and they're like, why didn't I do this sooner? But a lot of people do think nonprofits only do want money. And I can raise my hand and say, working for both national and a small, it is not all we want. And I'm glad you said that, because that's really important that people can hear that.
Yeah, I mean, I talked to some people, some of our donors at one of the nonprofits I'm on the board from, and I started thanking them for their involvement and what it allowed us to do during this past year. And the gentleman ended the call by thanking me for letting him know all the things that his donation was doing. And I think there's so much out there that regular, normal people take for granted, that they're fortunate that they don't have problems with opiate addiction, or they don't have problems with not being able to make their rent, or can't put food on the table, so they don't know that it actually exists. And the little things that people can do actually can change a life. And we see it all the time. We see people's lives actually changed by nonprofits. So.
No, thank you. That was great. Really appreciate that message. Anne Marie, what's yours?
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And I mean, I'm not one who looks back and has regret on my decisions at all. Like I really think I've always been somewhat involved in the community or people or friendships or, I'm a big group mixer. We talk about having businesses involved in the nonprofit world. We specifically had the 50 for 50, which was my 50th birthday. That was the specific reason. It was to get people from the for-profit to get involved with the nonprofits and mixing these worlds and these groups. And I have to say that I haven't formally, in my younger self did not formally sit on boards or become that involved, but I've always been a big people group mixer, relationship maker. And I wouldn't change any part of that. I think things happen progression wise in your life that bring you to a different point. And I think the impact that we have now is greater than maybe when I was younger. I don't know, you learn more, and your opinion is respected more. So I do think it's hugely important. I'm thankful for the fact that we do it now. I think we make major differences to help or to teach people for growth. So yeah, that's a major lesson. So if people do, hopefully they start young, but as long as you get to the point where you can do it sometime in your life and feel that satisfaction, and be grateful for not any one particular thing, but just that giving and, giving part of what you do in life, then that completes it. So
well, that's great. And if you don't know how to get involved, ask somebody that you see involved. I think that's the other piece.
Right.
Don't even know where to start. And if you don't know where to start, it's always, that's why I totally push mentorship and the importance of that, because not everybody knows where to even begin. And getting involved in a chamber or any other organization is vital, no matter where you are in your career. It's never too late to get involved in anything.
Right.
So how can people learn more about Design 446? I want to make sure that you put that out there. So Anne Marie, your website.
Sure, design446.com. We're an email, we go there, we're an email away, we're a phone call away. Again, we laughed at the fact that we don't usually advertise. We're mostly word of mouth and referral, because our best customers come from other happy customers. So yes, our website is a great place to start.
Absolutely. And it's a great website, and you really get to learn about all of you. I love your website. It's so much fun. So
great.
I want to thank you both for sharing some amazing stories and some great messages that I know will help other people. And thanks for just being a huge support for all the work that we do. And I hope people will go to design446.com and take a look at all the amazing tools, tips, resources, all the things they have there, and learn even more about these two wonderful people who helped to run the ship over there. Thank you both. I so appreciate your time today.
Thank you, Jody. Thank you.
All right. Bye, everybody. But before we go, remember, today is the day. You cannot go back to yesterday, and you do not yet own tomorrow. So make sure you're taking steps to get closer to your goals each and every day. Have a great day, everybody, and we'll see you next Wednesday on another episode of Today is the Day Changemakers. Bye.